Oh well, after a lovely double non-score, just like us, the Caterham Kings, we're off to the next old roundy poo.
Do you know, I've completely forgotten which one it is.
So have I. Monza?
Monza.
Will it be Monza?
Damn it, another one I'm no good at.
Monza is a personal hate of mine.
I just find that the car never has the legs.
Especially in this one, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even I've run that race in a McLaren, and I guess the default setups are probably the problem, but I just feel the car doesn't have the speed that all the AI cars have.
Monza is the only track where I go 2 clicks up from to the right hand side. Every other track I only go 1 up.
It's about finding that compromise, isn't it? I mean, I was actually 2 clicks up for that one that we just did, which probably explains why I was running wide, but I do like the podium at this track.
Yes, Alonso with his favourite selfie ever.
Incidentally, right, Codemasters, why the hell are there no podium cutscenes in this game?
Yeah, because it all takes place in the top 3 doing their same old bouncy route. I think it's so that you can show the helmet that you choose for when you're playing online and stuff like that, but I would quite fancy a podium.
No, me too. I mean, I have no problem with them combining both of those things. Also,
could they not face capture you as well?
EA have been doing that for years.
Yes, like with the Tiger Woods games and stuff they do, don't they?
Exactly, so, you know. Did they let you face capture his wife as well?
It wasn't the wife I was with.
It's
Oh, it's 100% rain tomorrow.
Oh god, I've just set myself up to a super dry. Oh well, that's my race done. I didn't check. I just assumed it's Italy, it never rains, everyone's olive skinned and healthy here.
Do you know what, I don't think it would really matter though, so I'm still going to go 1 up.
But I miss Steve from Codemasters and his talk of RPG light kind of being included in these games, you know, live the driver's life. I still think there's a lot to be tapped in there.
Definitely.
You know? Start with podium ceremony, Steve, and then work your way up from there.
Yeah.
Oh my god, have I just got a penalty? I have.
How?
Weber braked really early in front of me and I went into the back of him.
You've only been out on track for 5 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
Teeny.
As long as I don't get one in the race, that's fine.
That's so Gutierrez.
Yeah, well, you know, I am the Esteben.
That's so Gutierrez sounds like it should be the name of some campy late night TV talk show.
Yes, it should. You are completely correct.
That's so Gutierrez. Oh, that's so not on the racing line. So in the barrier. It's starting well. So whilst we was waiting for my computer to clear out enough room for us to then do this next race on here, which is looking like it's going to go just as well as the previous one, we were talking rather fondly about a game that you are looking to be diving back into.
Yeah, yes we were. We were talking about Grand Prix World.
Oh.
Which is the undisputed king of F1 managing simulators.
Yep.
It just is. I mean, it's what now? Almost 20 years old?
98 season it came out for, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, to 15, 16, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, 15 or 16 years old. And for anyone who hasn't played it, it's fully licensed, and it just does everything a management simulation should do incredibly well. But the personal highlight for me was how everything, when I say fully licensed, I mean genuinely fully licensed, that all the sponsors are in there, and you negotiate with them, and they will change teams. You've got your supplier agreements with tyre, fuel and engine manufacturers that vary depending on the performance of your team and the quality of your staff. So, you know, maybe one engine company will offer you a partner deal where you get the engine for free, while those others will only see you as a customer because your team holds little brand value for them. Or maybe you manage to talk someone into giving you a works deal, so they'll give you an engine, they'll give you money and sponsorship, and you'll be closely tied to that manufacturer, and their wishes will sort of dictate how you run the team. And I think that's it's something you definitely wouldn't see now, but it represents an era where you could have these phenomenal games, but you didn't really have enough of them. There was that one, and I don't think another one came out until the EA rip-off in 2001, which was just inferior in almost every way, except the livery creation. Because with Grand Prix World, which I suppose is kind of like it is in reality, you negotiate with sponsors, and then they decide where they appear on your car, whereas F1 Manager, I believe, the system was you had A, B and C slots on your car, and each one had a cash value, and basically the sponsor would say, right, we're going to give you $500,000. You would allocate them $500,000 in ad space on your car and on your overalls. That's something else as well. You could design the driver overalls, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, what has concerned me is that we've never seen the like of that again. Like, why should the peak of any particular genre reach that sort of age without an update?
It's not as if there's not people interested in that and crying out for a wee bit more, because we've got these terrible atrocities to the world that are what are they called actually? Because it's so unlicensed.
They used to be pole position, and then this year's is racing manager.
Yes, the kind of completely unbranded, unlicensed cack that it's like buying in a film from the asylum, expecting it to be good.
They're actually made by a television company from Luxembourg.
Is it Koch?
No, it's RTL.
RTL. Yeah, because not knocking RTL, they make really good winter sports games. That is the only thing that I can give RTL decent credit for. But my goodness me, these things are disgusting. And we didn't learn, did we? Because you mocked me for buying one on the Steam sale. Lo and behold, 2 days later, you were suckered into the same thing as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I bought it because it was €6, and I thought, well, they've changed the name. I wonder if maybe they've improved it, genuinely. Maybe they've, taken on board the feedback from the previous games, and they're now come back and doing it properly, right? And what frustrates me about these games, and I know you haven't played 2014 yet, Simon, but Yellow's in Sector 2. What always frustrates me is you can tell that somewhere within their development team there is a handful of genuine, dedicated. Oh dear God! I'm very sorry, everybody, if that was incredibly loud, but I just turned a blind corner, and Adrian Suttle was rolling very, very slowly into my path. He just hit the wall, so I don't know what happened to him, but that was a nasty accident. Yeah, you can tell there's genuine fans amongst the developers, right? Because some of the things they're trying to implement is stuff that you think, yes, that makes sense. And you can see they've got sort of a depth of technical knowledge as well. But it's just so poor. There's just no polish whatsoever. Even down to the drivers. Like, there's no consistent algorithm for drivers, right? So you can have a Russian driver who's black with a blonde handlebar mustache and a Mexican name. And he'll look about 50, but the game will tell you he's 18. Right, and I know that's quite a small thing to be bothered about, but if that was the worst thing the game did, then I could definitely forgive it. But it just the feedback you get throughout playing it is rubbish. Okay, so you have no idea what you should be doing at any one time and what effect that will have on your car, on your team. You find that the cars end up looking consistently awful. There's sort of a strange pearlescent quality to the paint on the chassis, and you can't really design it much beyond clicking a part and changing its colour, so you can't make like a pattern or a specific design, and you can't move sponsor logos around, and my god, the logos are such poor quality. They don't look remotely immersive or believable. I mean, I know they can't use real companies, but still, you know, some effort is required. And the colours of these sponsors are just atrocious. I've not seen a good-looking car in that game, not one. Everything's blocky and amateurish, and what staggers me is that it continues to sell, and even I bought it. I'm such a sucker, I know, but I bought it because I've been crying out for one of these games for over a decade.
I've been hoping for change.
Exactly, and I'm just willing to give them the benefit of the doubt each and every time they release another dodgy knockoff, stupidly badly made rip-off.
It's a shame because we had Grand Prix World, which we both, I think, say is amazing and probably the best, undisputedly, for Esteben. I really, really love the F1 Manager game that came out from Software 2000, which was based on the 1997 season. There's the Grand Prix Manager 1 and 2 games, which both have their various bugs, but are very, very playable and customizable, because even though... no, they are actually... They have real stuff. It's the F1 Manager one that doesn't. And the EA one was kind of the most glossiest in terms of
presentation.
Yeah, but actually was probably the most balmiest in terms of algorithm. And what we'd like is a little bit of a merge of the lot, really.
Yeah, I just think, like, if you look at those games, every single one of them, no matter how poor, is better than what's coming out today, right?
Yeah.
And these games are profitable, even though they're appalling, simply because people who've never played the old games perhaps aren't aware of them and are looking for something like this. And people who have played them are looking for something that represents an update, like a step forward.
Yeah.
And what happens is, something else we were talking about, is that you get sort of passionate fans deciding, right, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make this game that I want. And you end up with 5 or 6 rival indie projects, and not one of them over the last 8 years has seen the light of day. Not one. And anyone who writes to you and says, hey, I found this great F1 management sim, is lying. They are lying, because I have played everything that's in alpha, everything I could get my hands on, and every single one of them has been deficient compared to games of 15 or 16 years ago.
I'd like to point out that we're not talking about things like F1 Time and the Codemasters online thingamy-bob, which is half management, half racing with the arrow keys. We're talking about proper, fully managing within an AI world, not against other people in some kind of press the setup and off you go kind of thing, because there's quite a few websites like that are quite fun to play with, but that's not what we're banging on about.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for adding that, Sam, because I didn't want to upset anyone needlessly.
Sobbing in the corner.
Yeah, because no, I mean, I've played stuff that isn't even management sim, stuff like Bat Racer, which is excellent.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Bat Racer is superb, but I'm talking about, you know, a proper solid game release that is a management simulator. I mean, there's a technology out there today to combine a management and driving game. It's just no one does it.
No, don't say that Gran Turismo does it with their weird let me do the driver management thing, which is essentially go faster, go slower, go faster, go slower all the way through.
Yeah, exactly.
What that is essentially the old spectator mode with buttons.
I'm just acutely aware that it's not a particularly hard genre to make. You've just got to control your own ambition, right? You've just got to accept that, you know, you don't have a big budget or a huge development team, and you just have to prevent feature creep. So, you know, I think a lot of these projects fall down on the racing side. It's over ambitious. They want to add in perhaps direct control of the cars, and then you've got to think about modelling the physics rather than simulating them, and all that kind of stuff. And I think F1 is something that is quite difficult to map the real development process into a game. Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Simply because there's no proven formula, right? We all know that. McLaren this season came. Which race was it? It's before Japan sometime. They came and said, right, we're going to completely change X, Y, and Z, and we think it'll improve the car. And it didn't. And they don't know why. And sometimes, on paper, a development should improve the car, but it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's something that you need to
30 seconds left in the session.
simulate into such a game. That's quite hard to do because the player needs a way of knowing they're improving their car. It's something that I think Grand Prix World did quite well as well, in that you have technology progression in terms of driver aids and all the different elements of the car, right? And you can max something out to 5 one season, but then the next season you might find, hey, my car's only got 3 points in that. Why is it? And it's because technology has moved on, or another team has made a breakthrough or something, and it's sort of simulated into the code. And that's something that might frustrate some players, but I think it's a really vital feature. And it's just about recognizing what is vital to the experience and making sure that is included, and not worrying too much about all the additional bells and whistles. I like a fully licensed product, but I don't think there's any need really for real sponsors and real engine manufacturers. You can just, as long as the ones that you replace them with are believable and relatable, then there's no problem there. So, World, I beg of you, just make it happen. Just do it. It's not difficult, and there is a market. Oh wow, I have just taken off. I mean, like literally flown.
I'm on board. That's probably why.
It's because I was waffling. I was driving really badly anyway. Alonso ruined my lap.
Yeah,
Meant because I let him. But I was getting so passionate about F1 management simulators that I completely forgot I was driving the car right now.
No, I hear you all the way through, mate. Do not worry.
Well done to you, sir.
Not really. I've got a 10 place grid penalty too.
Oh dear. So we're starting dead back, both of us, aren't we? Or did you qualify on pole?
No, no. I'm 11th plus 10.
Ah, okay. So yeah, we're 21st and 22nd. Good to know where we belong.
Whoever set up the difficulty last race. Lols. Never mind.
See, the thing is, I feel like one of those people in America who claims to have been abducted by aliens, and they genuinely believe it, but no one around them does. Because I keep saying, like, I play my single player on pro difficulty, and I'm consistently getting podiums in races, and then I come online on intermediate, and I'm qualifying last.
I still think it's a frame rate problem. I think the frame rate problem is larger than what they make it out to be.
I honestly don't know what it is, but it was reassuring that you followed me around last qualifying and gave me some feedback that I wasn't doing anything catastrophically terrible.
No.
Shall we go and start this race last with a fully dry setup in my case and watch it rain?
Let's do that.
Perfect.
Let's face the apocalypse head on.
I really love my helmet design in this game. I say it's mine like it's mine, but it will be. If I ever do sim racing, I'm copying it exactly. And you can quote me on that, Codemasters.
Okay. I like the way how every year Anthony Davidson puts his helmet in, but I never see anyone use it.
No, that's true. Hey kids, do you want to be that guy who once for a bit drove for Super Aguri before you were old enough to watch F1?
And now, even though he's still old enough to race in F1, acts like a pundit that knows it all.
Yeah. Oh god, it is raining. Oh, Jesus.
Uh,
Well, Simon, it was nice knowing you, but I think we might be able to might see me die in this episode.
I think we'll be good because these are intermediate tyres that are going on, not full wets.
Oh, maybe that's something to consider then.
And that
What-
should in theory mean... Oh no, it's still wanting us to stop.
Yeah. What lap are you coming in on?
It reckons 6, but I don't really...
It says 6 for me too, but
I'll
I'd
go
really
7.
rather not.
What would you rather do?
I'm not sure. It depends if the rain gets worse, doesn't it?
It gives us a 6 or a 7, and then it's outside of that. It just goes, no.
Yeah, that's true. I might come in on.
Listen to yourself, man.
Yeah.
I can hear the cogs going.
I was thinking 5. Based on the length of the race and when I think the rain could improve or stop. And knowing now what I know, I'm going to ignore my own advice and go to 7th, and then maybe that tricks fate. And I'm going to stop on the 7th lap because I think it's a bad idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah. These laps, these tyres will last 7 laps. They just will.
Yes.
I believe it now.
Yeah, no, it says so. It says on the tin. And for some reason, I'm 20th and you're 22nd. Why is Chilton in between us? He just wants to get in everywhere.
Yeah, because Max Chilton has permanent dibs on 21st place.
I must have that back row.
It's like he has a permanent reservation there. It's like a restaurant.
Ah,
Okay, shall we?
let's go crash.
Let's go crash. The good thing is, when I know I'm not going to be competitive, it makes it much easier to talk to you. Because I'm not
Standing by.
concentrated on doing well, I'm just concentrated on getting the car round.
Boo. I reckon that we could be stealthy assassins in this one.
The only thing I'm assassinating is my own face.
Do it Lietzi style. No!
Or, no, I'm going to be more Yuji Ida, I think.
Mr. Ide. Oh yes. Okay.
I will do my best not to run into the back of you at turn 1, Simon, but no promises.
Don't worry.
So, would you like to hear my proposal for solving this horrific drought on management games?
Definitely, maybe after turn 1 though. Whoa.
That was less eventful than I anticipated.
Oh, is that going to reckon that you hit Bianchi?
No,
Amazing.
but I barely touched him, to be honest.
Out of the way, Pastor. Just because you've got millions.
Careful, he'll buy your seat.
That was a great overtaking manoeuvre. You made that look easy.
Oh! I saw that.
Yeah, God, I really don't know what happened there.
You didn't get anything. Oh, and Button's in the wall, and I'm in the wall. Everyone's in the wall. My God, Chilton's 15!
Oh, well, that'll never do. He'll be very unhappy there.
I'm giving it back to me. That'll be correct.
So, yeah, my idea. Right?
Yes.
So, I mean, ideally, this should be something that should be open source, right? You get all these people that want to make this sort of game, and you just sort of force them to work together on the assumption that anyone who's ever tried to do it in a small team or on their own has failed. And
Force them with cheese.
yeah, and you need to come together and you need to reach some sort of consensus on it, because otherwise it just will not get made.
Mm-hmm.
The other way is to crowdfund it, I suppose. Now, I know there's a lot of Kickstarter fatigue, and a lot of these games never make it out, so I mean, winning people's trust is going to be difficult, but, you know, how much... You buy the game, right?
Yeah.
You know, if it looks promising enough, you'll probably take a punt on it if it's something you have been in the market for a long time and you've been burned by this Calypso garbage.
Yes.
And I think
think
you'd probably be willing to pay a bit extra to put yourself in the game, wouldn't you?
Yes.
As a driver, as a race engineer, as whatever, right? So I mean that's a revenue stream straight off the bat, which a lot of games have used to some success. I mean I bought RimWorld today, and I've paid extra to have my name in the game because it's a fiction I like, it's a game I like, and it's a way to encourage the development of games that I approve of.
Is it a porno?
It's not. It does sound like one though, doesn't it? It sounds like a Western porno.
Hey, is that a big hat? I'm just pleased to see that.
Oh wow, I'm in 10th. It's a shame I've got a penalty.
I thought you didn't have a penalty.
No, I got one for that incident you saw with the Force India.
Your front wing's taken some slight damage. Stay out.
Right, so
you definitely
opened that up there. Yeah, you could definitely kickstart it. There's lots of different extras you could put in. The option for DLC packs is quite interesting as well because you could tie up with the sim racing leagues and do cross promotion that way.
Places behind Esteben.
And I care not if someone steals this idea, by the way, because I just want the game. And then moving on to the actual functionality of the game itself, I think the pay driver issue is one that you could. Oh, I've gone off completely.
Places up on you.
Why did I get a penalty for that?
Because Perez drove into the back of it.
Yeah.
Oh, now I've gone into the back of Perez. Oh, and he's gone off. Oh, I've got penalty now too.
Oh, unbelievable. I'm sorry, Simon. That was my fault, really.
No. It's Perez being a
Looks like the
Perez.
stewards have awarded you a time penalty.
Oh, well.
There's a small
So,
amount of damage to Esteban's front wing, but
you
I
can
don't
have
think it's affecting his time.
good drivers bring a bit of money, obviously, because they're going to attract their own sponsors. And I think the idea of not just having sponsors sponsoring teams, but sponsoring drivers shakes up the driver market a bit. And also, why has it never been simulated, the relationship between a driver and their race engineer? You could sort of tell that Massa was going to Williams because Rob Smedley went there first.
Yes.
And we know that they have a great working relationship, right? So, you've got a sort of an inbuilt bonus system that just comes from reality. You don't have to fictionalize one.
That was a novel way through turn one.
Yeah, I'm just driving like a pillar. This setup is not helping. And if I tried to turn that corner on the line I was on, I would not have made it anyway, so...
No, I agree. I like the whole setup and stuff of that. Definitely.
Do you want to go through, Simon? Because I'm just going to cause a massive accident. I'm spinning all my power away and...
I'd quite like to see that. As long as it takes out the rest of the film. What would another thing I'd like to see?
Is it, while you're pondering on that, I just wanted to add in, another problem with Racing Manager is that it makes things that should be simple far too geeky, and it makes the stuff that you want geeky far too simple. And that system needs to be turned on its head. I think you should be able to make stuff like car setup super geeky if you wanted to, but like when I play these games, I simplified that element of it because for me it's about negotiating the right suppliers, negotiating the drivers, and then managing those assets. It's not about intricately setting up the car. In my opinion, that's something that should be left to the driver and their race engineer. That is their job.
That's what you pay for that staff to do if you want it.
Yeah, and basically the Grand Prix World did that, right? You did testing, and you earned some setup points that you could add, but the basic setup of the car was done beforehand, and then you could pick areas to improve based on the traffic. So the most you could earn was 5 points per driver, and each characteristic of the car or characteristic of the track had like a 10. Why did I get a penalty there? I didn't touch anybody.
What?
I've set a penalty and I've crashed into the wall. Oh god, this has all gone horribly wrong.
Me giggling in that has made me go off as well.
Right, I'm coming in. I've butchered my tyres. I've got no front wing. And I was on course in theory for some points that I already had. Basically, if I hit anybody else now, I'm disqualified. But I got that third penalty. That was for nothing. I was nowhere near anybody. I didn't cut a corner. I was on straight. There was no one around.
Bizarre.
Well, anyone who wants to criticise my driving in this round is more than welcome to do so, because I'm critical of my own driving. I'm very unhappy with this performance. But anyway, moving on. So you got sort of a scale of 10 for each characteristic, right? And then the race engineer, based on his skill, and the driver, based on his skill, will set up the car to what works for the driver and for the strategy. And then you could improve some specific areas that you wanted to see the car perform better in, so acceleration, overtaking, dealing with dust, dealing with off-camber corners, things like that. And I thought that was a very, very clean system, because they were doing their job. Having a race engineer didn't feel like a complete waste of team resources.
Yeah, because it seemed like you had to have one, even if he was doing it all anyway.
Exactly. Whereas in Racing Manager 2014, the only way to make your car competitive is to tweak everything. And what that means is you have to sit to like an hour or so testing, where you decide the fuel load for your driver, you send them out, and then they give you really ambiguous feedback that helps you decide what to tweak. And if you spend time setting up one driver, the second driver will continually abuse you over the radio because they're bored and they want to go out, so they'll threaten to fall asleep in their car and things like that. And that doesn't sit right with me.
No.
That's not how that should have been done. So, I think it's a nice option for people who like to manage in that kind of detail, but I think it should be an optional thing. It shouldn't be something that's vital for success.
Surely you would then do an offshoot racing engineer simulator or something. That's obscure enough to be really a real game.
Yeah, it has to be made in Germany.
Yeah.
And it can go on the shelf next to Woodcutter Simulator, which has just popped up on Steam.
Yes, I looked at that and I went, really?
And the seminal classic Underground Mining Simulator. Which is interesting, because I'd love to see them simulate overground mining. I think that's the niche I prefer. When it comes to mining, overground's where it's at.
Definitely. Followed by airbending. What about breathing simulator?
Yeah. Inhale. Actually, someone has parried this quite well with queuing simulator, where you stand in a queue. You stand in a queue that never really moves, and you overcome drowsiness by punching yourself in the face. But if you punch yourself too much, then you can knock yourself out. So it's this fine balance between boredom and punching yourself in the chops.
Reminds me of there's a game I've done a walkthrough of it on my channel actually called I Get This Call Every Day, and you're working on customer service and you just have to answer a call with all the different options, and try as you might want to really hate the person on the other end of the phone, but if you do, you get fired.
I think that's a game that everyone should play. Because, tell you what, man, those people, they get a really rough ride. Do you know it's got the highest suicide rate of any occupation in the world?
What, call
Call centre staff, yeah.
God.
And and the stress in that job is just phenomenal. Yet it's not recognised as a skill. I think to most people, not losing your shit when you're getting the kind of abuse these people take for something that is completely beyond their control is just astounding, and yet it's still a minimum wage job.
Which is why staff turnover must be massive. And I've never worked in a call centre. I've worked on an after-service sales desk, and that was horrible enough. Thank you, Comet.
Yeah, I know. I've done it as well. I think as a form of national service, like instead of having to do service in the army for the state, you should instead be forced to work a customer service job, either in a supermarket or on a phone line, right? And then it might instill some reasonability into the general populace, because it's something that is sadly lacking. Man, I used to get some of the best calls. People just want the earth and they want it now, and there's absolutely nothing you can do for these people. The moral of the story is, though, that these people should be paid better. So let's make that happen. If we can't make a Formula 1 management game, surely we can increase the minimum wage.
I like that.
One or the other, I'm fine. When
Just increase our wages so that we can continue trying to right the world.
Do you know? It's one of those weird anomalies. YouTube personality, isn't it? Because you get people like someone like Total Biscuit or Nerd Cubed, and this is their living.
Yeah.
And I understand why. I mean, they're superb at what they do. But it just seems like a very strange career to develop. I mean, like, you and I both just have office jobs. This is something like, we give up part of a weekend to sit and do this. And it's good because it's enjoyable. And I don't think work should be enjoyable.
What?
No, I don't. I mean, because otherwise, how do you know when you're at work and when you're not? Do you know what I mean? You're blurring the lines of reality. It's against nature. You can tell the hours you're at work because you're miserable and stressed and you hate it and you want to go home.
Why?
That's the definition. You've got to have suffering, Simon, or else you don't appreciate when you've got it good.
I can see where you're coming from. I'd rather have a job. I don't mind my job. It doesn't cause me great pain being there all the time, although I am looking for a new one. And should my sudden sponsorship and stuff on YouTube develop and I had millions of views per day, then I could consider it an alternative. My thing is, they must have a stonking amount of views to be able to live off this, because my YouTube channel isn't, oh my god, unlike that line into that corner, isn't that bad. It gets about 4,000 hits now a day. Oh my god, it's all going wrong for me now. And I get a nice little smidgy bit of pocket money in, which I always reinvest back into games to play to everyone. And I'm very appreciative and thankful that people watch and tune in and play about. But they must be getting like hundreds of thousands of views a day in order to make it a real successful living. And they must have sponsors that are paying well above the normal YouTube odds to be on their pages as well. And
I think a lot of them are on channels, right? There's like you sign up with a group of YouTubers and your channel is managed on your behalf, and I think you get a salary or a percentage of your view amount, but in exchange they promote your videos. I'm not entirely sure how it works.
That's how mine works.
But it's I think it's also sort of a compound interest kind of thing, right? Because, maybe if you have one video that gets several 100,000 views, then yeah, maybe that's a decent sum of money. But, when you're doing it full time, these guys are putting out at least one video a day, and all of them are getting similarly high views. And then once, someone's watched a video for the first time, I rewatch Let's Plays that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
From time to time. So someone like Jeff Major, who you should go and subscribe to, and he's fantastic. His playthroughs, not all of them, but some of them, really sort of persuaded me to buy a game, or I've just really enjoyed his playstyle or his commentary. And I've watched some of his playthroughs through like 5, 6, 7 times, right? So he's benefited from my viewership more than once per video. And I guess it's the same for these guys as well. And then, when you've got a back catalogue of 1,000 videos, and not everyone's rewatching the same stuff at the same time, I guess your income spreads across them. And the more you produce, the more you make.
Yeah.
But the reason I say it's sort of anomalous is it doesn't seem like something that could realistically happen to anyone you know. Do you know what I mean? Like, these people don't seem... I know they're just people, but to me they don't feel like people. They feel like a construct. Because I can't comprehend of a world where I get paid to do something I genuinely enjoy doing. And occasionally they'll put out a video like talking about this element of things and saying, well, we do put a lot of work in, it's all about quality and all this. And I agree, I'm sure they do put an astonishing amount of time into this stuff, but at the end of the day, you're playing video games. And you're playing the video games you want to play. You're not at a desk job in a traditional journalistic outlet like PC Gaming Magazine or working for one of the IGN or something. You are playing what you want when you want, and the only difference is you've got to talk a bit and you're recording at the same time. Now, I mean, from doing it with you, I appreciate it's not necessarily easy. Like, I'm constantly trying to improve how I speak, in terms of clarity and content and pace, and trying to be as interesting as possible, or as interesting as you can be when you're playing a game very, very badly. So, I appreciate there is an element of talent in there, and that's fine, but at the end of the day, you're doing something you probably love, or else you wouldn't have started doing it in the first place when there was no money in it. And when I think about my own career progression and, what I'll do before I retire, that isn't something that leaps out of me as a possibility. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to half agree, half disagree. I'm going to come at it from a slightly different angle.
You're so Swiss, Simon.
I know. So Swiss. I am
Swiss Simon, the car dealer.
Swiss side. My stance on it is that is not where I break for that corner. Soz, everyone. Is, I know why, it's because I put the fuel up to rich, and I can never do fuel on rich in the wet because I spin the wheels. I think that there is very little difference between, there is a difference between writing for a review for a magazine, oh my god, my driving, and posting a video on YouTube about a game. But I think they are both valid mediums for doing stuff. I cannot remember the last time I bought a magazine to look at game reviews. I can remember the last time I looked at a website to look at game reviews, and I can remember the last time I looked at YouTube for game reviews, and both of those were today. And so I think it's a different type of media and medium to present your views, but I don't necessarily think one is better than or worse than the other.
No, absolutely. I mean, I take these guys' opinions very, very seriously, and I agree with you. The benefit really is in seeing the game for yourself,
yes,
rather than just absorbing the written word and them saying this game feels like this. You can sort of get a much better idea of how it should feel to watching it played out.
Yeah,
and I get that. And I don't disagree that it's a valid medium. I rely on it.
There's tons of video editing involved. And sound design and sound capture.
Oh, of course, but it just strikes me as something that is too much fun to be someone's regular day job. And I think we'll have this culture now until companies find a way to control it. And it's already starting with the channels.
Yeah.
And now with the content ID system, you really, for most people, you have to be part of a larger channel network to defend yourself. And once you're signed up to something like that, then you're not in true control of your channel anymore, and the monetization isn't as in your hands as it was, and it'll just be a gradual process till it's dominated by the same people that have dominated television and newspaper.
Yeah. I think it's increasingly difficult now to be a independent on any medium, and then people jump ship to the next one, which is currently Twitch, where you can stream live and get revenue from stuff from there. But sooner or later, that will end up having a certain way how you have to deal with getting around content ID matches and stuff very shortly, I'd imagine too. And I don't know, I would like to have my YouTube channel as part of a larger business. I don't necessarily see it being a funding revenue to keep me in a certain lifestyle, certainly not. But I think it's a valid way of being in media. The only thing that I will say for everyone that's bitched about the content ID stuff is that when you rely on a company and you're relying on a food chain to provide you income that you don't have direct control of, and you let that be your only source of income, that's not good business sense. And you need to think of other ideas out of the pot so that when YouTube, as it will do because it's part of Google, will change its structure quickly at the drop of a hat. If you rely on just that one thing to make your business that business, then you're always going to be left one step behind.
No, exactly. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos, very emotionally heated videos, since Content ID went live, of people yelling and screaming at Google and YouTube. And, you know, you can think what you will, but I think what's happening was always going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't have something be such a runaway success before people who make products recognize the value, but also the damage it can do to their business, and start to look for ways to influence and control and benefit from it. Right? You know, just like there's review embargoes, for example, on print media. So a magazine can review a game, but they can only release the review once the game is out to prevent damage to pre-sales if the review is bad. And if you break that embargo, then they can sue you. Or if you write bad reviews about a game developer's game, you don't get invited to events and launches, and then you've got nothing to write about. And it's getting the same way with YouTube. You get people who are particularly influential who are going to have their impartiality challenged consistently because of their success. And it just seems to me, what I'm trying to say really is that the system as it stands now is perhaps better, or at least the old system was better, but it was imbalanced in terms of benefit to the YouTube content creators and the companies that provide their bread and butter of their work through their products. And it was always going to shift. And anyone who's complaining, your complaints are valid, but you know, you should have seen it coming. It was obvious. And I'm sorry for anyone who has been particularly affected by it, but by the same measure, like you say, it's poor business sense to just rely on a process that's completely outside your control. Definitely. If you're run a factory and you produce something, you can control the marketing for it, you can control your suppliers, you can choose to source your wood from somewhere else if it proves beneficial. But when you're making game videos on YouTube, you're relying on games companies producing games, letting you play them, and then not stealing your monetization. And you're relying on Google to always have a set of rules that is beneficial to your needs, which is perhaps not wise.
No, and I mean, Google are always going to be pushed on the copyright side of stuff as well, because they're always going to be receiving pressure from various people because the internet is so bad for big companies, yet they don't seem to understand a lot of the good side of it. But then there's people that act like dicks that put up entire films or entire albums, and for that kind of stuff, yeah, throw the book at them, get rid of them, go out of your way to rip them to shreds. I'm quite happy with that. I think that's well deserved. I think there needs to be that the issue and the way how the content ID system to me is slightly annoying is that you may have an entirely original work for, say, 90 minutes of me talking about how fantastic, I don't know, let me look around my room, Parappa the Rapper 1 is. for 90 minutes. And then I cut to song 2 where he's sitting in the car and it's going kick and turn the car to the left or whatever it is. And I've used that song, and all of a sudden that content ID for that 10-second snippet of that song means that I don't earn anything from that other 89 minutes and 50 seconds. And that company, for that 10 seconds of me talking about how fantastic it is, now owns everything that I've done. There needs to be something that says, do you know what, this part of the video belongs to them, therefore people that have made it through to that point of the video get their percentage of the revenue, and then it starts splitting out so that they get half and I get half. Or if they then say, right, the visuals are mine and the audio is mine, and the only bit that you add is the commentary side, then it needs to split 3 ways, and I only get a third of the revenue for that section of where people have watched, because you get that breakdown on the analytics.
I tell you, you've got a very reasonable view on it. I mean, I'd love to see things stay as they have been. That's something I should get out there straight away. And I'd love nothing more than for you to be able to do this as a full-time job, mate. Absolutely nothing more. But I think you've done a good job of recognising that, you know, that might be a bit idealistic, and that it was always going to be challenged by people who want to make money off you. Because obviously the problem there is I believe YouTube revenue is not particularly profitable for the people who make content in small numbers, and then you're going to be losing 2/3 potentially of your revenue. It just makes it that much harder to break through.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely. One thing I will say is that in the last month I've had quite a few, 4 or 5 developers who have contacted me saying, would you be prepared to get a beta of this game and then post up your thoughts as you're playing it as like a behind the scenes thing. And I think that's a good way of some of the smaller companies reaching out to independent, impartial people who give a little bit more than, oh, this is just crap, oh, I shot you, F you, blah, 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 blah. And people who give some decent stuff. I don't know.
I don't know. It's a very complicated system, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything nicer than the relationship that you do see developing between like an independent developer and an independent YouTuber. Because I mean that's really how it should be. I'm just a realist, and I can see that it won't be, and it's very, very unfortunate, because I think we have been spoiled recently with just a whole host of impartial reviews that you could sort of take to the bank, and this game is bad, this game is worth a look, because there was no vested interest in the background. These guys weren't going to big promotional events, they weren't invited to attend conventions free of charge, and then things are starting to change. I think it's going to get a lot harder to break through, but I wish everybody the best, every success, as it were. Unlike this race,
which was not successful at all. Let's hope the next time out will be a bit more successful, and I think we're going to a place that you like quite well.
Oh, are we?
It's
not Morecambe, is it?
No. It's something else that's a little bit more exciting at night time.
It's better than Morecambe.
It's Walton on the Naze! Yay! So I think we're off to old Singapore next time, so we'll see how that goes. With the updated weird corner before the bridge as well, so I'll remember that that's there now. And, I'm going to sign off because my computer is grinding to a halt. So you take care, Esteben.
And you, sir.
And we shall see you next time for more incompetent driving here on the Caterham Kings F1 2013 Co-op Champ.